Hey guys, here is a thing I have been adding recently. It's called teacher multiple choice. It's just functions basically the same way that multiple choice functions, but you put TMC here instead of MC, right? TMC, teacher multiple choice. Fairly simple. And I've added it in a couple of places. So this over here is the main combinatorics worksheet. And you can see at the end of it, it asks you, did the student get here as a responsive or, something from part of the main sequence? This isn't actually part of the main sequence anymore, but it's part of some, for main SAT math, it's part of some other things. Sometimes main sequence, that's fine, right? So you can pick though, but if it is a responsive, it goes to intermediate combinatorics over here, right? Which is good because then you don't have to remember. So instructors, right, you and other instructors, when you're making arrays, the instructor doesn't have to remember to go to intermediate combinatorics also. And then intermediate combinatorics, that's this one over here, when we get over to here at the end, again, teacher multiple choice, is the student working on main SAT math or math level 2? If main SAT, then I just put something like this, right? You can go back to the main worksheet that you were on. This actually shows up for the student, so keep that in mind, right? So it's actually a direction to the student, also to the instructor, that's fine. And then if they were working on Math 2 for intermediate combinatorics, we definitely want to also do advanced combinatorics. Most likely, if they got to here anyway, they just came from advanced combinatorics, so that's fine. But it's just a constant reminder, no instructor is ever going to forget, and that's really nice, right? So we've got that going on. The other two, the other main places I've been doing this is in the grammar curriculum. So for the grammar curriculum, there are a couple of, I've talked to you guys about this a bit, the grammar basics has a couple of sort of like sequences, right? So for example, prepositional phrases comes in 3 parts, right? First we introduce it, then we talk about it a little bit more as modifiers, and then we break down the prepositional phrase. 3 parts. You guys might forget to do that, or you might just like not be working with the student when they're on, intro to prepositional phrases, and then you don't really realize that all of a sudden they need to move on, right? So the way that we're going to all check in on that is I added this, right? So teacher multiple choice, instructors, was this used as a responsive worksheet or main grammar basics curriculum? In this case over here, this is actually breaking down the prepositional phrase. So this is the final one in that sequence. And so if they were using it as a responsive, they can now go back to, the main worksheet or whatever. Or if you, as the instructor, think that there's some other necessary responsive, you can do that. If, however, they were working through the main curriculum, you still have the option to go just to the very next worksheet and keep going. This one, though, is the opposite, right? So in this particular case, this worksheet over here is intro to sentences. I want you to immediately then go to the second part of this, which is W10, which talks about modifiers inside of that introductory sentence structure. And so if you're doing grammar basics, you're going to W10. If you're doing it as a responsive, you're also going to W10, right? That might seem a little bit redundant, but I do want instructors to have that moment, all instructors, to have that moment of checking in and just making sure. Because if you're working with a student and, the student comes in and the first question they do is W9.44, you don't necessarily know what they're doing. So this check-in moment is also designed to say, hey, by the way, let's check the currently working on, let's check the reviews, let's make sure that we know what the student is actually doing. Are they on the grammar basics curriculum, or was this used as a responsive? And obviously you can use this as a moment to ask the student, right? I mean, literally just ask them, hey, what are you doing? They won't necessarily always know. You can also check the reports, but you guys know all that stuff. So, fun new thing that you can use. Teacher multiple choice works anywhere, not just at the end of the worksheet. You'll see it a couple places in grammar as well. And when it shows up, it only shows up for the instructor. So as one of those little messages that only you can see, right? So if it is in any way useful, use it in your arrays. And if you have questions, come talk to me.